Great segue. Great segue, Jack. Let's talk about it. Let's analyze Jimmy G's performance. Twitter. The faithful on Twitter are up. On opposite ends. I guess when it comes to Jimmy G, there's some people that just can't give him credit. There's some people who still that are like maybe overly blowing his performance, making it like the best performance, of any quarterback in the league yesterday. But let's get Jack Hammer's analysis of Jimmy G's performance week 1 against Detroit.
I thought he played really well. I thought, he looked like Jimmy Garoppolo from 2017, maybe a little bit of 2019 at times. He didn't have any of those, bad throws. His worst throw of the day. The only time that he was almost picked off was a ball that was a nice play by the defensive back. Maybe he shouldn't have thrown it where he did. Defensive back stuck his hand in there, though, and got his arm on the ball, and it bounced up right into the hands of the guy that he dropped it. And that was the only one that was close. The first half, he was really good. He was 9 of 12. He only had one incompletion that wasn't a throwaway or a clock. So, that's really 9 of 10 on actual attempts. So he was pretty good in the first half. Second half, he was a little off, a little more off than he was in the first, but he wasn't awful. I thought he played well. I thought what he looked like yesterday was kind of what he was, the guy who we saw towards, or at least I saw it in practice over the last couple open practice sessions after they got back from the the Los Angeles Chargers game.
Mm-hmm.
In that you saw, I saw a guy who was out there getting the ball out of his hands quick and hitting receivers before they were getting to their breaks and putting the ball into the holes of the zones. We saw that yesterday. There was nothing, they didn't ask him to do anything overly difficult. I think two of his best throws of the day. The one was that the touchdown pass was an awful ball, so don't get me wrong there. But the fact that ball got out at all was a positive, mm-hmm. because that was, he had pressure in his face. He got the ball out of his hands quick. And then there was one when they were up 38-10, I think it was, or 38-17, somewhere in there. And it was 3rd and 10, and he completed a pass to JaMycal Hasty in the right flat. That was, again, that's
blocked.
He had they brought a blitz. He saw the blitz. He saw the free rushers right in front of him, and he gets the ball out to Hasty, and Hasty's able to do the rest from there and get it out to, for a first down. Yeah. So that's a big play as well. I mean, we're talking about the offensive line, and they definitely played really well. They did their job in the run game. They did their job in the pass game. Garoppolo yesterday got the ball out of his hands in 2.51 seconds on average, which is Brady-like, because that's what the number was Brady had in the game against the Cowboys on Thursday night. Mm-hmm. He was at 2.5 compared to 2.51. So they're basically at the same number there as far as who they get the ball in their hands. So I'm not saying that Garoppolo is Tom Brady. Don't get me wrong there. But what I'm saying is his ability to get the ball out of his hands helps his offensive lineman out quite a lot, like Tom Brady did on Sunday.
Because they don't have to block these linemen as long, and obviously I think that also helps helps the continuity of the offense and keeping the speed going and all that kind of stuff as well. And usually when it's like that quick, that's a timing route, so that's good as well, because it keeps the defensive secondary on their toes as well, because the ball's coming out even before they know what's going on. I actually was really impressed with Jimmy Garoppolo. I thought that he played way above my expectations of him. And the reason why is because he was throwing the ball down the field a little bit. It wasn't just the checkdowns. I saw somebody on Twitter talk about, I think he had maybe double-digit passes of 15 yards down the field. And or something around that number,
that's
like
fine.
Maybe 5 to 10. But I think that that is something that I really like to see, right? The fact that he had 300 yards in the air. Obviously, I know a lot of that came off of the 70-yard touchdown pass to Debo. But even if you take the 70 yards off, he's still, a solid 230, 235 yards, which is a lot more than I think normal for, Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think that balance, if he could become a threat with his arm and keep defenses at least somewhat humble, the offense, I think, could be a very, very, very big asset. And we were talking a little bit about who's going to carry the team on one of our shows. With the I think the defense still could be solid, but it looks like this offense could be a powerhouse offense, especially if Jimmy's throwing the ball the way that he's throwing, accurately, with velocity, and quickly, like you said. This could be an offense that could put up 20, 30 points every single game, which I think will help out the defense a lot and, keep us competitive with any team, even though we've lost, a couple of big names on in week 1. Do you think that this offense could still be, a powerhouse?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. You're talking about, Garoppolo and how the amount of yards that he got on the long throw, just off of the long throw to Debo. Well, you got to remember he had an 80-yard touchdown throw week 1 last year to Mostert, right, for the first score of the game. And so, and even with that, he was only at like 260 or something like that. So it was definitely a better performance. This was his best performance of his career on week 1. Go back even to his first start in the NFL when he was with New England. This was definitely his best performance. So he really played well. He's gonna, as long as he's healthy, he's gonna have to carry this team a little bit. I think the offense is going to have to carry the team now with some of the stuff that's going on the defense. So they're going to have to be able to play up to their standard, or the standard that Shanahan expects, right? Kind of what we saw like in 2019, where the defense struggled at times over the last half of the season because of the injuries to Dee Ford and so on. And they started giving up more points, but they were able to match New Orleans, for example. They were able to get 31 against the Rams to win that game, and so on and so forth. So I think the offense is going to be fine. As long as you don't have too many more injuries, I think the offense is going to be fine, and the team as overall, I think, is going to be okay.
How do you like the way that Shanahan used Trey Lance?
I thought it was awful. I thought the whole thing with Trey Lance was awful. I mean, I do. It's funny because on our pregame show yesterday, we talked about how he was going to come in the red zone, and that's what they did, right? The first time we saw him on the field was in the red zone, like we had talked about. Those first couple plays weren't bad. I mean, okay, you bring him in to run the ball, okay, and then you'd have a throw in the next play. Good, it works. But then you kind of, every time they brought him on the field, they just felt like you knew it was going to come.
Right.
And that's the issue that I have with it, is if you're going to put him in the game, it can't be a situation where you're just signaling to the defense what play is coming. You've got to have a threat of the pass, and maybe that's going to be something that comes up down the road. Maybe that we see that come up against Green Bay, or maybe that comes up against Seattle, at a time when it's really needed. So maybe they're just baiting us into it. But I didn't really like the way that he was utilized in terms of what the types of plays that were being called for him, at least on week 1.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I've been getting kind of crushed online a little bit for my take on it. People are saying, well, have you ever played? Shanahan is a lot smarter than you and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I thought Jimmy played really, really well. And I felt like other than the touchdown pass, I felt like all of those plays when Trey came in kind of stalled the offense and the momentum. I think that, you give the ball to Jimmy the way he was throwing it that game. And I think some of those third down plays that he was being brought in for could have been first downs if we just let Jimmy kind of cook. And I don't know, maybe he's setting it up. I obviously this is going to be something that we see throughout the season. I don't know how it helps Trey develop if all we're doing is having him run, but Kyle obviously is seeing something and he's enjoying it. But for me, I think we just let Jimmy cook. We're going to need him to be confident and be able to outscore some teams, just because maybe our defense is suspect on some weeks when the defensive line isn't playing, the way that they can. So I think we just got to give Jimmy as many reps as possible if he's the starter at this point, and build the offense through him for this year until he gets injured or he doesn't. He plays the whole year. So overall I would give Jimmy a B plus, maybe even an A- based off of just what my expectations of for him. So he played a lot better than I expected.
Yeah, I think a solid B plus is about right. And with Lance, you're saying maybe let Jimmy cook. And for me, I'm thinking just if you want to run the ball on third down, just leave Garoppolo in those situations. Yesterday was just leave Garoppolo in the game and run Mitchell or Hasty. You've shown you're showing that you could run the ball. They really didn't stop him until late in the game on the running game. So just stick with what you've been doing, especially if you're not going to show any threat of the pass with Lance. I think that was more of what I was getting frustrated with the way that the utilization.
Yeah, man, I don't like my backup quarterback taking just hit after hit for no reason. You know what I mean?
So, oh yeah.